Welcome back to the Millennial Classics. On this show, we talk about the best and most memorable movies, music, and culture-changing events from our generation. Maburi, how you doing today?
Doing great, and I'm happy to be talking about probably if Avatar hadn't flopped, it would be the second biggest of television event on Netflix. Avatar flopped. I think this is the biggest television event on Netflix so far in 2024. Yep. Happy to talk about it, happy to jump in. And this is one of those things where, Netflix has so much money and so much reach. They can have a lot of at-bats. Some of them, they just strike out. But this one, I think they got on base with. And I don't know how you feel about the actual ending and the adaptation, but I'm thinking it's going to be a good franchise going forward.
And what is the franchise, Barry?
Three Body Problem.
Yes.
David Benioff
and Weiss.
And David Weiss.
From Game of Thrones.
From Game of Thrones, and they're back at it. Honestly, I think that they got a bad rap. The last season of Game of Thrones was terrible. That was them writing original stuff. I think they might be one of the best duos not even duos, just people, period, at adapting. I haven't read the book. What I've read about, they've changed a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Right? Like the wall facers, I think there were 4 in the book. There's 3 in the TV show. Like that, but that's all I know of what they've changed so far. They've made it very digestible. The pacing is a little off. It's not as good as Game of Thrones in terms of pacing.
Explain that aspect to me. What do you mean by that?
I felt like it's
wait. No, perfect. No, I love that we're jumping into it, but just to remind you folks back home for just the behind the scenes type stuff with the Millennial Classics. This is the second week for you guys watching that we do something current. Please let us know in the comment section below if you like us talking about the current stuff. We did just do Dune Part 2, which I think is an instant classic. We are doing the 3 Body Problem. And if you haven't, go back in our history. There is going to be a link below where I talk about the 3 Body Problem, the first book with a close friend, Nate Menninger. Go check all of that stuff out and let us know how you feel about us doing the current movies and TV shows. Back to you about the pacing, because that's going to go directly into how I feel about the book, because the book is so dense. So if you think the pacing is off in the TV show, you like reading the book, your head is going to be fucking spinning, because there's like 3 different time periods that the book goes through in basically each section of the book. And it hits so hard.
This the crazy thing about, I guess, media and basically TV shows, at least in America, is we don't have a lot of hard sci-fi or even major sci-fi TV shows. Yeah. Right. So this is already a big deal.
Yes, it is.
My favorite one so far would probably be The Expanse, which I've read all the books. Pick. That one, the pacing is slower, but it builds and the twists are kind of consistent. And now when the pacing is more consistent, I will say the first season of this, it's kind of tough because episodes 1 through 5, it kind of goes along the expanse of just building and setting up all the characters, putting pieces in place, and you're like, all right, cool. It's the first season. I get it. 6, 7, 8, though.
It's hard.
It literally is like nitrous and cocaine, and they were just like, nah, we got to get to the juice. And it almost felt like they were like, we got to get to the point where Saul becomes a wall facer. Yeah. And that's going to be there. And so like we have to speed through everything in the middle, because it felt like to me, the Staircase Project would be almost a season like by itself, right? They just like bang, bang, bang. Augie came, she left. Like all like Will came, so fast. Died. They found the thing. Like literally giant revelations were happening 2 or 3 times an episode that felt like which weren't happening in the first 5.
In the first 5 episodes. A big thing is the entire Staircase Project. I'm not even on that part in book 2. So Staircase Project is part of book 2. You meet the wall faces in book 2. I would say the book ends at 7. Book 1 ends at 7 minus the Staircase Project, which is even hard to say because the Staircase Project is a huge part of 7. So I understand what you mean about the time frame, but I would have to say it basically flows that way, because the second in the book that the world is aware that the Trisolarans are coming, I mean, they fucking like Wade's mindset about like advance only is the world's mindset. Like, we need to do something now.
Pause you right now. You just said Trisolarans. I know them as the Santi.
Oh yeah.
So let's just hash that out right now because
Yeah. I do
I
remember.
know the
Yes.
Santee.
Yeah.
So who are these Trisolarans that you're pushing up on me? Just explain that
That's a
for a
really good
second.
point. So it's the same thing. The Trisolarans are the Santee, but in the books, you get a deeper understanding of the aliens. And I guess it makes sense to call them Santee. I don't know what that actually means. I'm guessing what I'm guessing
Stars.
is. Oh, is it?
It's just in Chinese.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, because you know how the books are translations from China. I'm
Yep.
assuming that in the Chinese original is they're called Santee, because some of the names in this book are like the actual characters, and then some of the names are just random names in the book. In the show compared to the book. So
I get the feeling that they've westernized a lot of the stuff from the
oh,
adaptation,
100%.
the original adaptation. What
But
I will
the
say,
entire book is in China. So
right,
like everything
is
that's
in
in London.
Chinese.
No. It's in China.
Oh, it's in China.
So
Oh,
nothing,
wow.
in
Right. So
London.
they have westernized a lot of it.
A ton of it. But London is book 2 when we're meeting the other wall facers.
What I always think about is when I read either fantasy or sci-fi, any books in these genres, is like what new things do they bring to the table? And I just love the scenes with the dehydrations, the different levels in the game, the fact that it's mathematical problems with emotional answers. And the guys are called Copernicus.
Yeah.
I just love how the three body problem was literally it is the problem, the three body problem.
Yes.
But it's just it's the first nugget of the piece. An intergalactic civilization flying towards Earth that's declaring war. I mean, once you get to that point, it's pretty generic because war with Earth, space war, has been done 1,000 times.
1,000 times. But I have to tell you,
starting there with the whole three body problem and them wanting peace and them wanting to work with us and humans just being such pieces of shit that they've realized that, yeah, there's some good ones, but we also just can't trust you as the species. And so we got to go to war with you is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have to say the only difference is War with Aliens is more than generic. It literally is every sci-fi movie that has aliens in it. But how many of these movies, TV shows, sci-fis is the prep for the war? You never see that. I think that's also new. The prep for the war, oh my goodness, they're coming, let's do something. And then the majority of the movie or the series is we're fighting the aliens.
In 400 years. That's I know, but
even in the book, I'm halfway through book 2. The aliens is still like 300, 200 years away. This entire idea of what would the world do if they knew aliens were coming, that idea is also new. On top of the fact of the three body problem and the game and the VR, all of that, yes, I agree with you. But the prepping, I think, it's such a good question to ask, because what the fuck would we do if we knew aliens were coming?
And what it does, that's an interesting point. That's a very good point, because it turns it from like like those the generic like Starship Troopers, we're shooting bugs and shit type story, to almost like a Cold War type thriller, where it's like, yeah, the Russians and Americans hate each other, but we're not going to fight it on battlefields. It's going to be cloak and dagger shit.
Yeah.
We're going to have operatives on the field that we put in place like chess pieces, and we're going to have different technological things. Operation Staircase seemed like an impossible task in one episode, and then in the next episode, we're watching them in Cape Canaveral. They suddenly have 500 nuclear devices
up in the air
in the galaxy, ready to send Will to his. And I'm like, did I miss an episode? Because it seemed like there were so many things that needed to happen for this impossible task, and they got it done so quickly. I was almost like, Will died, and I was like, all right, just send the next dude out there.
The ease at which they made it out to be, you were like, okay, so who's number 2?
Right. We're gonna go episode by episode. The only other major thing I'll say about this: the omniscience of the bad guys seems to change based on the story. Like, there's sometimes where the bad guys really know exactly what's going on. Like Saul, for instance, they're just like, all right, cool, we'll make sure he dies. Wade just seems to be like, they're just like, yo, we'll send you a warning on a jet. What are we talking about here? If they wanted to kill Wade, they'd kill him. What are they? They're scaring him. Some stuff, I'm just like, are they all powerful or they're not?
They're not all powerful. You have to understand. And like, I feel like they did a good job, but I also have the fucking knowledge of the book. They can only change what we see. That's the only thing that they can do.
Right.
For any physical thing to happen, the moving forward of the science is impossible to, not impossible, but very difficult to do if you can't see. But all of the like technological things that need to happen, the actual killings that need to happen, it needs to be done by a human being.
I think I already know what the twist is going to be coming up to why Saul is so dangerous. But let's go episode by episode.
Okay, yeah. Episode 1 is Countdown, and it just starts with Ye Wenji, who witnesses her father's death, and this is like Mao's China, some communist China, right? And then we switch to modern times where the researchers are now noticing that science doesn't make any sense. There's a mass suicide of scientists. We meet Detective Clarence Dashi. We also find out that Augie is seeing numbers wherever she goes. She meets the lady who is like the human assassin.
Avatar. It's the Santi's avatar on Earth.
Exactly. It's the Santi's
killing
avatar
apparatus.
Yep. She tells Augie, if you want the numbers to stop, you gotta stop your lab work. So that's basically episode 1.
I think the cop, very good.
I love him. Yes.
Very good. I think they got the right vibe with him.
Yes.
Doesn't have a lot to do in the TV show. He always seems to just be missing shit. I feel like in the book, he would have a way sicker role. But I think in the TV show, because they have to show so many characters in such a limited time, he always seems like he's one step behind. And Wade seems like the guy that knows everything, and he has to be the guy that's catching up. Augie, I also feel like is completely miscast. She's from Fast and the Furious, honestly. Like, I'm just
is
like,
she
that's
really?
all I need to know. Yeah, she's in Fast, Hobbs and Shaw. Shaw's girlfriend in Russia.
Yeah.
That shows up. But I also just feel like her like,
whole demeanor,
acting,
the way she
didn't think they would be friends with, she would be friends with everyone.
In the book, the main character is Augie in like this portion of the book, because like I'm telling you, in the book, people die so quickly and you're like, who the fuck are we following? But you're following the problem, you're not following any specific character. In the book, her friend group, there's like 3 different characters that are playing the main character. So Jack and Jin, who play the video game, is also the main character. You know what I mean? So like they split it up in different people, which makes more sense, because if it was one person doing it all at the same time, it would be insane. Benedict Wong, who plays Dashi, he is focused on in the book a lot more, because all he has to do is be with the main character. So it's basically just them two.
He's the connecting tissue between everyone.
Exactly.
And these guys, Benioff and Weiss, they literally pretty much they bring out their old friends. Everyone's back. So a lot of Game of Thrones people are back. I think it works without a super famous person in the entire show. I think the only thing is Augie. I feel like could have been a better character. And even if it was America Ferrera,
I think America Ferrera would have done a better job. It would be so much more believable.
I think that's what I'm saying.
He's the Gonzalez. I mean, like, yeah, I just, it's hard to see. Episode 2 is Red Coast. Ye Wenji discovers that the sun, and this is in the past, she discovers that the sun can amplify the SETI signal that she wants to send out there. One of the other generals steals her idea. It gets banned. You can't do it. She does it anyways. And then she receives a really intense, crazy warning. Do not answer, do not answer, do not answer. And she's like, you know, fuck the world. Literally fuck the world. Alien says, if we come there, we're going to kill you. We're going to take it over.
So,
and she's like, I'm going to do it anyways. Before you say anything, in the present, Augie's project, she stops the nanofibers, and then the number countdown stops. And I think this is when she decides to stop the nanofibers.
I will say this. This is the one big, I think, plot point, and maybe it gets revealed way later. But I just want to say, the Santi, they just process all their thoughts together, and they can't lie.
A liar is someone whose words are false. A liar cannot be trusted. We cannot coexist with liars.
One solitary person in the Santi sending a message saying that, like, please don't respond. Like, we're terrible. We will go over there. It doesn't make sense, because then all the Santi would know that one Santi has sent that message, right? Because they share all their thoughts together.
In the book, they explain it so much better, but you actually get to meet the Santi. I don't know if you understood the premise of like the emperors or the person that's always alive in that big pyramid, but there's always one person that has to stay up throughout all of time. In this version, when Ye Yuanji sends the message, at this point in the Santi's civilization,
everyone's dehydrated.
Everyone's dehydrated, and they have these like 5 or 6 different major pyramids where they're messaging out into the universe using the sun to amplify different directions. So this one person is like, I am a pacifist. If you answer, it's going to be a different person. And the person that gets your answer in the future, when I'm not the only one that's hydrated, they will most definitely come for you. So that's what they explain. Yeah, so it's literally just one person per pyramid and throughout the entire.
I really got to read these books because that makes
it's
sense.
So much. It's so much, but I think they do a good job for the most part. But you picked up on the one thing that could have been like a problem. Well, let me ask you, what do you feel about Ye Wenji doing that? Yes, she sees her dad die. She goes visits the person who killed her dad. And that lady was like, there is no resenting.
There's people that sell their livers for crack. I'd be out here commenting on someone who literally survived the Cultural Revolution, saw everyone on Earth literally rally around killing their own future.
Exactly.
Like humans rallying around, and that's what she witnessed. The most brilliant minds, her father, being slaughtered because they knew things.
Were scientifically proven.
They were teaching things by their own students, really.
And wife. Right. The mother's the one that ended her up. Yep.
So you can literally think that humans are pieces of shit. So I completely, and they do a good job of laying that all out. Should she have gone to therapy and worked all that out? Yeah, probably. Before eliminating the entire
send her a BetterHelp link.
She still made a terrible decision, but you can't blame her. The only other thing is everyone there is there for the project of beaming shit to the satellite. No one just notices the giant 300-foot satellite just rotating by itself towards the sun. I don't know. If I walk into NASA and I start moving the Hubble's telescope, well, is someone gonna be like, yo, I'm on the shitter. I'm not paying attention. I'm just confused by that because they seem like they're very focused on bureaucracy, and it's not like it's a Hubble telescope that's a million miles away.
They can see the shit tearing
giant dish. And she's just like, let me just rotate this shit.
The author, he does a great job. Again, it's super dense. And in the book, it's literally what they do every day. Every day they're turning the telescope like 5 different directions and sending out the message. So it's not weird that she does it. And in the book, this is like 5 years into her being at the base and all she does all day. And they do make it, they try to explain it that she's like, the dude comes up to her and is like, how are you doing this for so long? It's like listening to the ocean for 8 hours a day, because that's what she does all day. She turns in 5 different directions. She sends out a message and she wears her headphones listening to it all fucking day. That's her job. I can understand.
Episode 3.
Yep. Destroyer of Worlds. So they the group of friends meet up again. Augie goes up to Jack's bedroom because she wants to use the Japanese toilet. It's hands-free, ladies and gentlemen. I think she tries on the face mask. She's like, holy shit, you guys have to stop using this game because it's like insane VR tech. And then this is when Chang and Jack really get into the game. They start visiting each other and going deep, tag teaming through the game. Jack and Chang make it to level 4, meeting an unrecordable woman. They're like, now you know that we're heading to Earth. At the end of that episode, Jack is in his house. He's getting killed while Dashi is in his car watching what happens. And he can't see the murder when it's happening right in front of his face. And in the recording of Jack's house, there's no sign of the person killing him.
Now, this is just me guessing, but I think why they made such a big point about Red Riding, why they made such a big point, the joke about God, is that I don't think that these guys can distinguish sarcasm, jokes.
Grandmother, the Little Red Riding Hood, none of them exist.
So the story, it is a lie about a liar?
We can help you understand us better.
That kind of stuff. And I think that that's how humans are going to learn to communicate with metaphors and jokes and stuff that these guys aren't going to be able to decipher. But that's my theory. But my point is, they seem to be doing a good job about, in the games, having a lot of cultural things putting in Is that Mike Evans and them putting that stuff in the game, or is that the Santi putting that stuff in the game?
Both of them. They're only able to have the actual technology for the game because of the Santi, but Mike Evans is the one that's delivering the headset to the people he believes.
The customizations is what I'm asking.
Customization. You know how when they ask specifically, do they look like us? And she's like, no, we've done some liberties. In the book, they explain that the liberties that they do use is if they're in China or if they know that the person that they're giving a headset to is Chinese, they'll use Chinese science history. If, like for Jack, they'll use English, history. But then obviously for the big, like discoveries, it's the person.
Is my theory on point?
Yeah, no, it's not cooking.
Shit.
It's not cooking, but it's a big deal because the fact that the Santi can't lie, the fact that they don't understand. Oh, but at the same time, I don't know. Like I said, I'm only part right, so I don't know what happens past halfway through book 2. But the fact that the Santi can't lie is the reason they're like, we can't trust you, motherfucker.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It seemed like the reason why Saul's the most dangerous person on the planet is because of what she told him on that bench. What we've learned about the Santi is they really did not get Red Riding Hood. They didn't get the idea of the fact that you can say you're one thing and be another.
Be another. Yep.
And then on the joke, they didn't get that. Like a joke can have 2 meanings.
Yes.
Right? So my thing is that like Saul's going to realize that these Santi, they very literal, but they don't get double meanings.
Yes.
Double jokes, sarcasm, that kind of stuff.
These people are completely literal. Metaphors are going to go over his head.
And then he's going to be able to communicate as a wall facer without having to be in his head the whole time. And that's why they want to kill him, because he's going to be the first person to realize that.
Yes.
And he's going to ruin their plans.
I would say for the most part, you're right. But like I'm telling you, as dense as the books are, I'm still getting introduced to the wall facers.
Okay.
But you're right. You're right. It's a big part as how they go through. But as of right now, throughout the books, the focus is just these are the 4 people that we're going to give every resource in the world to for them to do whatever they want to do. And they don't have to explain a single thing. But 100% you're right. The entire joke thing on the banks with Ye Wen-ji wasn't for nothing. That was a whole deal.
How do you feel about Ye Wen-ji, by the way, as a character?
She is my favorite character in the book. She
Really?
does die. She does die in the beginning, but the present is that one character that's like an amalgamation of the friend group. And then in the past, it's all Ye Wen-ji. I think we yada the past in the TV show, but there's a lot more in the past in the book. So you really get to
I'm
feel
guessing with her, they kind of yada the Mike Evans and her.
Yes. I felt for her a lot more in the book. I didn't care as much in the TV show about her.
She's so devoted. Like, I feel like in that moment when she was sending the things, she was just like, fuck the human race. I mean, you can change your mind at the end of the day. And maybe you change your mind when you have kids, and maybe they just didn't have the time to flesh that out. She also just didn't stop to save her kid, though.
Exactly.
Like, even after the kid died, she was still like doing shit for the enemy, hosting events, doing all this shit. Her motivations are kind of, they don't really line up, but I think that her character is very interesting. And I kind of like how they tied her back to front.
Yeah.
And I will just say this, my girlfriend, not normally a racist person, but kept on asking if Jin was her daughter. So that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Oh shit.
But not in like a I'm curious. I'm just confused because they kind of look alike. That's all I'll say.
No storyline. They just look alike.
They just are from the same race. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that they're mother and daughter.
Oh, that's hilarious. They do
not to throw her under the bus. She's a great person.
Of course. Listen, I wouldn't blame her. Yeah, and it, like, giving her some credit in the storyline. They're so friendly. They're like, when she's cussing in front of her, they're hugging each other. They talk about Vera, like they've been around the whole time. So fine, but in the book, the reason I like her so much more, because if you read the message specifically when she sends them and she says, come and take over us, because in the book, there's 3 different levels of the Santi lovers, right? There's the level where Mike Evans is where come here and like take over the world and destroy anyone and everyone who doesn't see you as like God. And then there's Yeah, and and then there's Ye Wenji's is like, come here and teach us your ways so we can stop being so crazy. And that's why Mike Evans and Ye Wenji in the book disagree and part ways. But they didn't get into the details as to why they parted ways, because the last time we see Ye Wenji and Mike Evans together is on the boat and they're hooking up. But then you don't see why they separated. In the show, when she's doing the speech for everybody, in the book, she's telling everybody, stop doing what Mike Evans wants. You can't be praying to this Lord. They're not God. They're just another species, but they're ahead of us, so let's listen to them. And
Right.
I think
let's get to episode 4 and 5, because I think a lot of the stuff that we're
is in both
about,
of those episodes.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, yep, episode 4 is called Our Lord. In the past, Mike Evans introduces Ye Wenji, who's now an Oxford professor, to the ship. After the murder, Thomas Wade and Da Shi enlist Jin to the spy on Evans' group. They have the group meeting. The British Army, MI5, MI6, whatever they're called, raids the meeting. There's an attempt on Jin Chang's life. She survives. Ye Wenji survives. They take Ye Wenji to prison. And I'm also just going to add episode 5 here. Episode 5 is when they cut down the ship, and then they get the gigabyte storage thing. And then this is
it's a flash drive.
It's a flash drive.
They can make it as fast as they want, but it's flash drive. And I will say that, so this is the major special effects kind of point of action sequence.
There you go.
Right, of the entire season. Here's the thing. I know these guys can do better.
Yeah.
These guys, I mean, Bad Little Bastards, these guys have done so much crazy shit for television, for special effects with big budgets. It wouldn't surprise me if the budget for this show was the same as the budget for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this, and I honestly thought that it was going to be one of those things where they stopped halfway, they spared the kids, all this shit. But the fact that they literally tore through everyone, as a manager of employee, I just think having my socially conscious engineer that developed the nanofibers on site to witness.
It's not a good call. She doesn't even.
Thousands of children dying, and then be able to wade through the wreckage and see little children's feet.
Yeah.
I just think.
It's not a good call.
As a people manager, I just think that is not the way to move forward. It would be crazy, if the guy that made missiles was told, all right, we're going to Baghdad, you're going to see what these fucking things did, And not only that, we're going to make you wade through them shits and then and see who you crippled and did all this shit. That is insane work. No, they've never, ever done that. That's the one part where I was like, all right, this shit, I get what they want Augie to be at a certain place at a certain time in the show. In order to get her there, you kind of have to show extreme things, because she was going off on Raj, and I was like, dude, Raj is taking orders.
Yeah.
Raj is doing his shit.
He's a Navy. Yeah.
First off, you're messing him up. He's got to stay on his game. Protein shakes. He's got to be on that, alpha brain, whatever the fuck.
That's right.
You messing him up, Augie. Talking about who the hell is Wade. Who cares who Wade is? We're at war.
We're at war.
He said that same shit. He said it before he knew he was at war. But that sequence was still stunning. Even though you knew what was going to happen, I've never seen anything like that on TV. Great.
Fantastic.
These guys are great at doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wish there was another sequence kind of like that towards the end of the show. We'll talk about Saul's attack. But that was done, honestly, I felt like that could be done on CBS if I was watching The Mentalist or some shit like that, like FBI, NYC, whatever the hell they're doing out there. I feel like that could have been done in that.
That is literally the only action scene that's in the entire first book, and up to the point where I'm reading right now. And
is that how the book ends?
No, the book ends literally with them looking at the bugs. If you were to move that final scene, place it at the end of episode 7 instead of finding out that the nuclear thing didn't work, episode 7 would be the end of book 1. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So they messed some storylines around.
Exactly. And I think, and because you just said that, I'm thinking in my head, is it Will's brain? Sending the brain up to the Santi. I feel like that's their second. Yeah, I think that's their second action or excitement in because there's literally no other That's the only thing.
None.
There's
But
nothing else that happens in the book. So like,
but
even if they want to make something more action packed, that's all they could have done.
the issue is they kind of jam pack that into the whole Saul is becoming a wall facer.
So it felt like
thing.
a lot.
So I'm watching that and I'm also like, so what's to do with Saul? What's going on with Saul? Is he a wall facer? What's going on?
We'll get there. We'll get there. But about the actual cutting of the ship, that was dope. What you said is right. I haven't ever seen that before. Santi explained Sophons to
what is the benefit of explaining that stuff?
That's a really good question. And it is, I think it's because it's after they have told Mike that we can't trust you. Because at this point, they have no humans help because they're like, we're out of this shit. We can't trust any of you guys. At this point, they're like, we're going to fuck you over. And this is how we're doing it. But episode 6, The Stars, Our Destination. This is when, so they find out what Sophons are. They show them what the Sophons can do and how they can see everything 24/7. And then the world breaks out into panic because Sophon unfurls around the entire Earth. People see a giant eye staring at them. And then everyone gets a message saying that you are bugs. Jin Chang questions Ye Wenji's motive when she's in prison. PDC moves from in London City because of the riots. They moved to this nice-ass manor, which I think is kind of dope.
That's a callback to World War II.
Jin proposes the staircase project. They try, and then they start working towards the staircase project. And then lastly, Downing buys a star for Chang, and then he starts getting these hallucinations about the boat in the water. But he buys a star for Chang.
Most amount of time spent with the character with the least.
But did you like it, though? Or did you think it was too much?
Yo, when the family came through and was like, yo,
you're about to go.
I know we've been dick bags.
And you've literally never seen me.
We've done the bare minimum. And now you're on your deathbed. But here's the thing. They didn't even know about the 20 mil.
The 20 million, yeah.
They're just like, yo, mom's inheritance. You can slide that over. And I was like, who else would it go to?
Yeah, I mean, it really.
They're just making sure it doesn't go to charity. And props to him because he's a good guy. The first time I met him, I said that he's going to be the key to this whole thing.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
I still think it's going to be. I think they're going to divert and pick him up.
So that's the thing. I don't know if they're going to divert and pick him up because my question was very similar because the Sophons can change everything you see. What if the Sophons just lied about the trajectory?
Right.
And it's actually going towards them. Or you're right. Maybe it is actually diverted and they do stop. They send one or
because what we know about Augie's tech is it doesn't fail, right? It's amazing. So it's amazing. They fake the things and Will's flying right to them and they're excited to get their hands on Will. A lot of the themes from Game of Thrones are also present in this. When I was watching this, I was like, a major theme in Game of Thrones was cripples, bastards, and broken things. And they kept on referencing it throughout. I think it was a 10-11 episode, but Tyrion, Jon Snow, Bran, the people that you least expect, the people that they cast aside, not the successful people in the beginning, but the people that you least expect are the heroes. And obviously they're written by completely different things, but I think there are some characters invented for the TV show.
Yes.
And I think Will clearly falls under that. Saul clearly falls under that because all we've seen are his fuck ups, literally.
Smoking weed, fucking,
Until episode 7.
And even to a point, Dashi, right? And again, I know you're talking shit about Thomas Wade, like the general of everything.
No, he's a beast.
He is a beast. But I love that scene where he's like, they were complaining about you smoking. And he waits for the whole explanation. And he's like, because he complained about you smoking, he's thinking about the wrong thing. He's fired. I like it. You're right. Yeah. Even to a point, Dashi, the detective, he's a little broken just because his fuck the world, I'll smoke, I'll do whatever the fuck, whatever.
Yeah,
but
and his
I
son,
know what you mean.
Yeah. His conversations with his son, I thought were some of the best parts of the whole series.
Yes.
You could see the hurt and pain in his face, but also the fact that he was like, he can't really say anything because he's been a shit father too. And it's one of those things where it's like, you've been shit, I've been shit, I'm still gonna take care of you. It's something that really doesn't happen a lot when you see it in American culture, but particularly I feel like immigrant culture, it's a big thing where it's like, yeah, we're both fucking shitting on each other. At the end of the day, I'm gonna get rich, prove you wrong, buy you a house, and I'm gonna get to lord it over you for the rest of
Yeah,
your
but I'll
life.
tell you, this is what's coming. For Dashi's part, he's just like, yeah, I'm proud that you did something instead of playing games, but this is bullshit.
Yeah,
Like,
this is bullshit.
exactly. So it's a back and forth thing.
Right.
It's not a one-way thing. I'll do episode 7 and 8 together here. Wade presents the cryogenic technology for Santi's arrival in 400 years, tells everybody he's going to go to sleep. He's going to wake up for 1 week for each year. Until then, the Mars property futures. Augie publicizes non-fiber research. She goes to Mexico and she's trying to do other things, and she makes it whatever it's known with open AI. You know how like it's open source. She tries to make her technology open source.
Boring.
And then Ye Wenji shares the Dark Forest theory with Saul Duran.
What's the Dark Forest theory? Because I thought that was she just shared as a joke.
Exactly. In the story, she explains everything to Saul, but because they focus so much on the fact that the Sophons are omniscient in the TV show versus the book, because in the book it's like the Sophons can only interrupt all scientific progress. They're not like all seeing and can see everything 24/7, 365. Right. I think she had to change it and not just say it out loud and like explain it to the people. But the Dark Forest theory is basically, if there are two intelligent beings, right, living in the universe, they don't know what each other are doing, and they can kill each other faster than they can communicate peace to each other. If you're in a forest, you're a hunter. You know that there's other hunters out there, and every hunter is trying to kill for survival. It's not, I'm trying to kill just so I can have extra meat. I'm killing for survival. Anything that they hear moving, they're going to shoot first before look and see what's it. Because if they look and see, the other person gets to shoot and kill you. The Dark Forest theory is, if you are an intelligent being in the universe and you hear or understand that there's another being, the first thing you need to do for your own survival is kill the other species.
So was that their thought the entire way through, or they came up with that theory after they talked to Mike?
This is Ye Wenji right before she dies. And Ye Wenji in the book doesn't even have this conversation. This is just like an idea in the book, and it only starts to have that conversation in book 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so it like in book 2, this is when they're talking about when the different wall faces are trying to decide what their plan is going to be. This is when they're like, some of them are thinking like the Salt's character is still trying to think of how can we do this in a safe way, but everybody else is thinking we have to kill them because that's what they're going to do to us. No questions, ifs, ands, or buts. And like they're actually told that they're going to die. But last thing, episode 8, wall faces. Saul is targeted. They tried to kill him twice. Once is he ends up killing his date, Nora. The second time he has that bulletproof like sweatsuit on, which I kind of think looks kind of dope, to be honest.
You ever walked a girl to an Uber?
No.
That is crazy work.
And how shitty is your Uber that you have to walk to it?
Dude,
what part of the neighborhood?
Crazy work by Saul.
What part of the neighborhood?
I was like, Saul is doing too much. I could see why niggas is trying to kill him. Honestly, I was like, Saul is doing too much.
And the thing is, it's this girl is like, leave me alone. You don't know my name. I don't need you to walk to my Uber. It's daytime. It's the middle of the morning. I'm not also afraid.
Yeah. Would you? I don't know. I want to wife up a girl like that's all. That's all. You got it. I mean, I can understand if you're in a coma or you break some bones, but if a Honda Civic hits you and you die, got issues, right?
And they weren't moving that fast. I mean,
they were not moving that fast. If you got killed by a Buick, we got issues. That's all.
You're a monster. The launch happens, it fails, and then lastly, Dashi takes Jin Chang and Saul to go look at the bugs, and they're like, "Yeah, we are bugs, and we have been trying to kill our version of bugs, and these motherfuckers are still here." You know, this is for the fucking bugs.
Rough
and I love that
metaphor,
speech. I love that speech. Great ending speech.
So my question for you is, there's a Chinese adaptation of that's 30 episodes.
Oh shit!
High budget.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, fully Chinese adaptation of the entire Three Body series. And they said that, and the comments were saying that speech in the Chinese adaptation is how everyone envisioned it in the books. So maybe me and you need to sit down
and watch
and
that,
bang out the Chinese adaptation. Or maybe that's just something you just do as a reaction, because I've never even heard of it.
Me neither. I thought this was the only adaptation.
It was done by Tencent, I believe. So giant company, billions and billions of dollars. It's on YouTube. Episode 1, English sub. Three-body problem.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Well then, yeah,
Tencent is a
maybe.
lot more thorough and captures all the nuances, motivations, reasoning, and other things that make up the substance of the story and give it meaning. Even expands on some of that, but it's absolutely way too drawn out for its good at times, which makes it difficult to watch. It could use some trimming.
Okay.
The Netflix show is the opposite of that. All style, no substance. Everything is shiny and polished. Stuff happens on fast forward at a frantic pace, skipping through the book 5 pages at a time.
I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not gonna be doing a reaction, but I do want to do what you just suggested. If you want to do the three body problem, like watch the Chinese and then talk about it, let's do that. But I'm not gonna be doing just because I'd rather just do the fucking I'd
So
rather just do this for the next seasons.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. But I think for me and you, I would love to watch this. And anyone that just wants to watch this, from what I've heard, is that there's now a director's cut that cuts the episodes down from 30 to 26 and helps with some of that pacing. And that it's available on Tencent's YouTube channel. It's called the Anniversary Edition. It's on Tencent's YouTube channel. And just check if it's available to you. If it's not, I would just try a VPN and see if that works. But 26 episodes. I am also going to read the book too, because I feel like this is one of those series.
I'm telling you, bro, it's so dense. Like there's the chapter in the book where they describe the Sophon. Nate and I had to read that shit multiple times to understand what the fuck is going on. It is so complicated. And I did want to ask you about the actual TV show. You know how they would just say things like, oh, it's the three body problem. Oh, it's the Fermi paradox. Oh, this is game theory when she would pick up the book and shit. Did you pick up on all of that? Because in the book, they would just explain the theory without call the name of the theory. But did you know what all of those things were? And did it bother you? Did you have to look anything up, or was it just this makes sense to me?
Like, what do you mean, like the stars going around and all that stuff?
Yeah, like do you understand what the three body problem is? Was the explanation in the show enough for you to get it?
That made sense, but I felt like they could have explained it better if they explained how two body stars work.
Yeah.
And how those were different from one body.
But you're also an engineer, so I feel like it's not fair asking you. I'm telling you, I read the book with intense detail, and I still needed a little bit of some rounding. And the explanation in the show, as basic gets, and you're saying that it was enough for you?
Honestly, I thought the chaotic world and stable world stuff was so cool.
Yeah.
When I heard it, and when you realize that it's literally about when the planet is in a gravitational pull and when it's not, and when it's being pulled by multiple, and the fact that their entire species and civilization is built on that is amazing.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, completely something you've never ever seen before.
Ever.
So
Yep.
that kind of stuff is like sick.
Yeah.
They could have explained it better, I feel like, because they kind of just say it like that. Like
Exactly.
she's just like, oh yeah, like the chaotic worlds are when you're being pulled by other planets,
multiple.
and the stable worlds are when you're in a gravitational pull.
Of just one
But
side.
I felt like maybe that was one of those points where you can like
Did you
do a
know what the
diagram.
syzygy was?
Yeah,
When everything
syzygy.
okay, so you see
Yeah.
all three suns are in line,
In
and it's
line.
like once every not even millennia, it's like
Yep.
once every billion years this would happen.
Yep.
That the suns are all in a line, and the gravitation in the actual book, half the planet is ripped off because the gravity is so much.
I mean, it wouldn't even look like what it did in the shows, because
Of course not.
if it's ripping people off the ground, it means it's literally ripping the ground off
exactly
the planet.
off the planet.
So
And that's what happens in the book.
honestly, adapting this seems like an insane challenge.
Oh my
I
goodness,
think they did
yeah.
I think they did a great job.
Fantastic. 5 out of 5.
It's one of the things where they yada so much stuff that maybe it's like, is it worth going back and being like, this is a two body, this is what a three body actually looks like? Because maybe they could have shown the three suns and then the planet being pulled,
Exactly.
by two or three, and then maybe the sun's lining up. But that honestly also only takes like 10 seconds. So it's tough. But yeah, I tracked all that stuff. And
Another
that's
question
when-
for you. If you are Wade, are you that dude who's just like the reason I love Wade is because Chang literally asks him, oh, you think you're that special that you need to be around for the next 400 years? You can't just teach someone.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this is a project. This is I gotta do this shit.
He was like, this isn't a project. If it was a project, I could just give this shit to you. You can handle this shit. Right?
Right.
But he's like, this is a process.
Do you agree with him?
I honestly love, I think some people have vision and some people don't. And his vision of only advance, I think until you find someone else that has that same vision, I think it's tough for him to be like, yeah,
Exactly.
I'll just die.
Exactly.
And that's the thing with, I mean, throughout history, there's all these tales of, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, like all these people that like die, and as soon as they die,
The thing ends.
everything falls apart. And I think what that does is by him going to bed, going to sleep, and coming back, everyone's kind of like, oh shit, like we know what we have to do when Wayne comes back, like that kind of stuff. Is it healthy? Is it good? No, but I think this is wartime, and I think if Genghis Khan could go to bed for 6 months and come back for 6 months, and he double his lifetime, I think he would have done that because he would.
1,000%.
The other thing is, Dolphins, can't they just be like, Wade's machine is dying, like it's thing. You have to like wake him back up because I mean like can't they fake all that stuff? At some point, there's so many plot holes in this shit.
Exactly.
Because they've given them so many powers in the TV show. Like if someone's wearing glasses, they can actually invade your eyesight and change how you think. So like they can literally be like, Wade is walking down the street, and then a cop just sees Wade with a gun, and it's like, sir, put that gun down, and then just shoots him.
Exactly.
Like that's the kind of shit where I'm like, I think they overstepped a little bit for the sake of the show, and then they have to step that back. We talked a little about how Saul's shooting scene. Some stuff I'm just like, dude, this is a Netflix show. It looks like a Netflix show. Maybe you could have spent a couple more bucks. What I will say is episode 1 of Game of Thrones season 6 is where Cersei blows up the church. And the first 18 minutes or 16 minutes of the song is my favorite Game of Thrones song. It's just piano, and then the songs come in. There's no dialogue. You kind of hear people walking around, and you see people scurrying around.
You see what's his name commit suicide. I mean, it's fucking a dope episode. Bro.
I mean, sick.
One of the greatest episodes on television.
Sick. And that's when you're like, okay, Cersei's built different. Yeah. And the thing that I never got from this season is anything like that. I never got anything where it was like.
But remember, bro, you're talking about season 6.
But these are the same guys.
1. Yes,
these are the same guys.
But
and here's the thing.
But you have to build these characters first.
If I saw that Saul episode on a bullshit CBS show that 6-year-olds watch because it's NCIS Tallahassee and someone got shot in the street, it would look exactly the way Saul got shot. I mean, they didn't try to shoot it any other way.
No, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Yeah,
handheld, and Saul's walking out and everything. I mean, the way I was looking at it, I was like, why didn't the sniper just shoot a second time? Saul's just like on the ground.
Exactly.
And worst security ever. If Barack Obama is like, I want to walk to the bodega, get a chopped cheese, and you guys got to stay here. Secret Service isn't going to be like, okay, bro, you do you. Secret Service is going to be like, all right, cool, but we're still following you lockstep all the way to get that chopped cheese and all the way back.
There are a lot of holes. And this is why I think, because it's such a difficult, hard sci-fi book, it's like the barrier of entry is really, really high. And it takes a long time. But since you know what's coming, maybe you're like, you're going to eat it up a little bit more. But it's a really hard to entry. But if you read the book, you'll understand a lot of the plot holes, because if they were to try to explain things or make things as realistic as it is in the book, it would be like the first 3 chapters would be the entire season. You know what I mean?
That's why I'm going to say this is not enough.
Oh, exactly. It's not.
I don't think they got their fastball yet.
Yeah.
But I think they're pitching some strikeouts.
Exactly, and because especially for sci-fi, which is a hard place to get really new and cool ideas, but the ideas are fantastic. The themes are fantastic. I'm super interested into what's about to happen next. They've got all of that stuff, but like the actual creation of the show, some of the characters in the show, yes, I'm talking about you, Augie. It just isn't there. Can I ask you, last thing before we just wrap this up, at what point in Game of Thrones were you hooked? I wasn't hooked from the get.
No. When he pushed Bran off I read the books.
That's before. Episode 1.
Right.
Yeah.
When he pushed Bran off the edge and said,
this is something special.
And I'm like, dude, what the? I mean, you've never seen anything like that. And the thing I already read the books.
Oh, okay. Yep. There you go.
But the thing with that is, even on TV, knowing what I know, if CBS had taken that, it would have been Bran loses his footing and he's like hanging off the edge, and the guy's like, the things we do for love, and then reaches out, but Bran slips and falls. It's like, exactly. But no, they were like, no, fuck this. This is HBO.
Yeah.
We're going to go all out. And when Sean Bean died in front of Arya Stark at the end of that first season, you're like, all right, these guys don't give a shit. They're going like this is going to be a great TV show. I need to listen. I need to watch. That's why everyone got obsessed with it, because they were literally not afraid and they were pushing boundaries.
Yeah, I know you're right.
There's no big battle scene in the first season.
But the death of Stark is epic. I mean, no, you're right. You're right. It's not fair. Game of Thrones season 1 was a fucking home run, if like ever. Like just fantastic. Right. You're right. You're right. Any final thoughts?
I'm excited. I'm honestly excited for season 2. This is not an adaptation that makes me be like, I don't want to see the book. Dune is an adaptation where, like, if you haven't read the book, you can still be fine, I believe.
Wait, do you really mean that? Because I really wanted to get into Dune.
I read the books, loved it.
Okay.
Loved it. Dune 1 and 2, if you read them, if you watch them back and forth, I think you'll have just as great a time. I think they've made some changes, but you'll have just as great a time. I think this TV show is one of those things where you watch the show and you're like, honestly,
I need to know something.
I don't want to see what the book's about.
Exactly. Because you feel like you're missing something, and I'm telling you, you're missing a lot. It's just very dense.
Right. And I think if they had done it that other way and ended season 1 with the ship attack, really fleshed out the characters and really been confident that Netflix is going to give them 3, 4, 5 seasons, I think the show would have gone different.
Yeah.
Because I think if they had ended it with with Judgment Day attack and they fleshed out some more stuff, and then maybe they filmed both seasons back to back.
Exactly.
And I think if they end season 2 with Saul being the thing, and they really fleshed out Project Staircase, and they really fleshed out Will, and then maybe it's like the first season 7 episodes or 8 episodes, and the second season 6 episodes, whatever they need to do. I just felt like
6, 7, and 8 was so rushed, and it was like rammed down your throat.
And or maybe they make the first season 12 episodes or 10 episodes.
Oh,
maybe they just do that.
Exactly.
And here's the thing: whichever one makes sense for them. And honestly, with them and the way Netflix is ruthless with cancellations, maybe they were just like, fuck it, we got to get a ton of action here. But maybe if they had made 10 episodes, I honestly think this is one of those things where it's like more is better.
Yeah, exactly. I feel you. I agree wholeheartedly. I would have loved a lot more. So that's our review of season 1 of the 3-Body Problem. Go check out our book review. We'll have all the links to everything that's connected down below. I'll even try to add the link to the Tencent Chinese 3-Body Problem version of
There's a playlist you can add.
Perfect.
I just added it.
Yep. I'll just add that. And yeah, we'll catch you on next time. Deuces.
All
right, go ahead.
And you're going to add the link to you and Nate's interview?
Oh, yes. All of that will be down below, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time. Deuces.